Andrew, I have a bit of a problem right now. Let me know if you've ever had a problem like this. I checked earlier today. I've put 72 hours into Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 so far. I think I've had this game like 3 weeks. It is consuming any of all free time. I haven't really watched any extra movies beyond our podcast. I haven't talked to my family. It's kind of bad, but you ever kind of
like at all
temporarily? No, I don't know where they are. They might not be home right now. I don't know how the kids are getting to school.
I don't know how
you ever
eating,
had an obsession like that with the video game, the short term, where it's just like if you have a spare 20 minutes, you're gonna hop on and knock it out.
Yeah, I feel like I've had that a couple of times over the years. I will say a game that I know I've pumped a lot of hours into is Journey of Wrestling. It's that text-based wrestling booking game I've told you about.
Yeah,
I just pulled it up on Steam. I supposedly have 3,388 hours.
Okay, what?
In that game.
Do you leave it active on your screen sometimes?
Well, what I will say for that is definitely one. I think I've definitely left it open by default, but also that is something that I'll literally do while I'm just sitting at my computer looking at other stuff. I'll just have that in the foreground while I've got music or movies playing in the background. But yeah, I've definitely had games where I that kind of becomes. I remember, I think when I got a Switch and I got Pokemon Sword or Shield, I think was the last one I played.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it was right around the holidays. So I remember taking that to work and just being nothing's happening. I'm the manager of a facility where everybody's on a freeze. Everybody's on a lockdown. So I was just sitting at my desk in my office, just playing my Switch because I was like, what else am I going to do? So no, I've definitely done that. Now, here's the question I have. This is because for me, the OG Tony Hawk is the one that's crystallized in my brain. That's the one that I know through and through, and I bought the remaster of and didn't put that many hours into it. But is 3, 4 the more formative ones for you, or how does that play out?
Interesting. Definitely all the numbered ones were what I played a lot growing up. 1, 2, 3. I don't remember if I played, but I played 4. And then when you get to Underground and Proving Ground, Underground 2, I had bounced off by then. I've gone back to play them since. They're good games, but they're not the nostalgic. It's the 2-minute runs on a level is what I think of when I think of Tony Hawk. So, if you played 1+2 and enjoyed it, 3+4 is just like that, but with new levels. And it's I like it. It's very fun.
Clearly. I've always been a fan. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's a lot of hours. To me, Tony Hawk is Goldfinger. That's the line in my head, between them is that's the hard line is oh cool, we're just gonna we're gonna do that. And I think my favorite joke I saw recently is somebody said, when the trumpets heralding Jesus's return aren't what you thought they were, and it's just the intro to Goldfinger playing. And
pick it up.
And I'm like, yeah, if Jesus came back to Goldfinger, I would be like, all right, I'm back in, bud.
All right, bring in the. We need that. Can we add horns to our theme song? I'll see what I can do. Theme song.
Yeah, there's got to be a way.
We're not talking about the best of them. We're just talking about the rest of them.
Not the worst parts, but the best parts. The best parts we have.
The best of the rest.
Hello, and welcome to Best of the Rest. My name is Chris Logan, and I am joined, as always, by my deep-sea dwelling co-host, Andrew Williams. Say something to the listeners, Andrew.
Yo.
Each week, we take a second look at a movie that was poorly received upon release and challenge ourselves to only talk about the things we like and what the movie does well. It's Sci-Fi Horror Month, and this week we are talking the 1998 film Deep Rising. Andrew, what is your history with this movie, if any at all?
Not really any at all. I was like maybe sort of aware of its existence, but like really had no idea. Like the whole you posted it in here, and I was just like, huh. And so I looked it up, and like there were some vague memories, maybe of something.
When you say I
Nothing.
posted in here, you mean I put it on our spreadsheet of
Yeah.
movies we're gonna cover?
Yeah, and I was just like, huh, interesting. And so I looked it up, and I had it in my Voodoo, so I got it. I might have just done that when you put it in there, but it might have been on the conversion list. But yeah, or I might have just bought it years and years ago. But yeah, I'd never no real history with it. But I was intrigued when I first saw it, and yeah, so no real history to speak of.
Basically the same thing. I had never heard of this movie before. I mean, I don't remember it on the shelves of Blockbuster. I don't remember it on TV. I don't remember commercials when it came out. And then on Corridor Digital, on Corridor Crew's YouTube channel, they do a VFX Artist React series that I watch, and they covered some scenes from this movie that I had never heard of from the 90s, and there's some really gnarly special effects. I was like, all right, well, I got to check this thing out, and I put it on my Voodoo wish list. When it hit $5, I bought it, and it's been sitting there for months, and then it came time to put together Sci-Fi Horror. I was like, oh, well, this is a great excuse to make myself stop playing Tony Hawk and watch this movie finally. So we put it on the list. And honestly, we were actually debating this movie and a different movie that we have seen, that we are familiar with, that we would cover. And I think we both were in agreement, like, well, let's just do the movie that's like new to us. You know, let's just see what this is all about. And that's how we landed here. We have now both seen the movie. We watched it for the first time preparing for this podcast. And I'm going to just start right here. I loved this movie. I had
this
such
movie
a good
friggin' rules.
time.
Like, this
It
movie
was
is awesome. Like,
just, you know, sometimes people listen, they hadn't seen the movie before. I want to get that out there early, that this movie, yeah, it rules. Like, I will be watching it again. We talked a little bit before we hit record. We both have like looked for a physical copy of it. There's an out of print Blu-ray, and hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully there's a 4K coming at some point, but I will definitely have it in my collection when that happens. But yeah, I can't believe I had never seen it before. Like, Wikipedia says it has cult status, but it needs to be a bigger cult. I don't know. Like, this movie needs to be talked about more.
absolutely. Like, I think you watched it before I did, and you were just like, dude, this movie rips. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, buddy. Like, I was like, let's get there. And then I watched it, and the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. I was like, this rules. Like, this is unbelievable. And it was just a blast. We'll talk more about all the details and everything in the coming hours as you join us on this 17-hour deep dive into Deep Rising and how awesome it is. But
I mean, I think like hashtag PP, like, think about things maybe working against it. Like, the title kind of sucks. Like, maybe that's part of why it has
not great.
lack of legacy. It might be part of, like, it sounds like the name of like a prequel to The Boys, like a spinoff of The Deep. You know, like Young Deep,
like
Deep Rising,
Deep Blue Sea, Deep Rising.
This is our third. I was thinking about that also. We almost have like a month of deep movies. We've done Deep Blue Sea, Deep Rising, and Deep Impact. We've covered 3 movies that start with Deep. Is there one more, Andrew?
I'm sure there is. Isn't there one just called The Deep?
Yeah, I think it's a shark movie called The Deep. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, like
we can round it out.
It's definitely a thing where Yeah, The Deep is a 1977 adventure film based off of Peter Benchley's novel of the same name, which means it's probably about sharks. Because that's all Peter Benchley really wrote about, because Peter Benchley wrote Jaws, folks. Yeah, the title's not great. Apparently, it was originally going to be called like Tentacle, which I don't know is much better.
No. Well, is it spelled like Tenta Cool? Tentacool? Then you might have something.
That's
there.
a Pokemon, and no.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
No. Well, yeah, yes, it's a Pokemon, but I don't think that's what we're going for here.
What about Tentacruel?
That's what Tentacool evolves into.
Damn it! Are you serious? Is that really also a Pokemon?
So. I'm pretty
They've
sure.
cornered the market on animal puns. I got no room to work here.
Tentacool on Bulbapedia evolves into Tentacruel starting at level 30. Yep. I
well,
am surprised I was able to dig those out of my brain. It's not something I've thought about in a while, but
okay. Well, look, 1998,
awesome.
those names were still available, so they could have done it. But I don't know. I don't have like the magic name that would have made this movie a hit or whatever. But let's set the stage for when this movie was released. It was released January 30th, 1998. Made on a pretty sizable budget, $45 million at the box office. It brings in $11.2 million domestically. I mean, an absolute flop.
Oof.
Critically, it's not well received. It holds a 36% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes based on 36 reviews. The audience score, not much higher, 44% audience score, which Andrew, I personally hate using this word, but I can't think of a better word. I'm a little flabbergasted. I don't like that word, but it's how it describes. Like, I love this thing. What are people doing?
Right. What are you doing,
and again,
people? Come on.
Movie that was released before Rotten Tomatoes existed. It means people are logging in to review a movie that came out years ago and say that they didn't like it. Like, I don't understand. Now, it wasn't until after I finished the movie that I did a little bit of research, dug into the creative team. I mean, I saw, opening credits or whatever, but the writer and director's name didn't stick out to me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I've even heard the name before, but he doesn't have household status that maybe he should, based on some of the heavy hitters of his filmography. I'm talking about Mr. Stephen Sommers, writer and director of this movie. Now, he had a pretty healthy career before this point. Nothing huge as far as a box office success, but had been in the effects side of the industry for a long time. Becomes a writer and director. Writes a few things he doesn't actually direct, but is always a credited writer on everything he does direct. He did The Jungle Book in the 90s, the Jason Scott Lee one, the live action one that people may remember. I really like that movie. I've gone back to it fairly recently. It totally holds up. I think it's a lot of fun. He also wrote a Huckleberry Finn movie that I'm not familiar with. He's the writer and director of. And then he's a credited writer on Tom and Huck, which I am familiar with. The Jonathan Taylor Thomas one, where it's like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn going off on an adventure. Then he does The Deep, which we're talking about. The Deep. He does Deep Rising, we're talking about today. And then the following year, the biggest hit of his career, he's the writer and director of The Mummy, a movie we have praised plenty of times on this podcast for its special effects, for finally nailing the serial throwback vibes that Hollywood had been chasing throughout all the 90s, for its sexual awakening for everyone on the spectrum. Wherever you fall, there's something in The Mummy for you. I mean, The Mummy has it all. What a movie. So, after watching the movie, going, oh, Stephen Sommers, that guy, the guy who had made The Mummy the next year, I'm like, yeah, that checks out. Like the special effects, the smart use of them. There's plenty of CG here. It's a bit dated. We'll get to it, but it's used so effectively Yeah, it's clearly someone that has a background in special effects and knows when to make the right choice. But after The Mummy, I mean, he's on board in some capacity for the sequels. He does Van Helsing, which is a pretty notorious bomb, and some other. He never really, like I said, The Mummy is the high point. There's really no other way to look at it,
Right.
and hasn't directed a movie in a number of years now at this point. But like I said, some heavy hitters in there, and rewatching Deep Rising has really made me want to go back and watch Van Helsing, a movie I haven't seen since theaters, and I'm wondering if there's maybe a little bit more there than I initially gave it credit for.
No. But
Hashtag PP.
I was gonna say you can cut that. You can cut that. But no, I it's such an interesting thing looking at all these different pieces because like I looked at the box office for this too, and like yeah, it dies. It unbelievably like because what's odd is 2 weeks after this, Sphere comes out. Like the 13th to the 15th, like Sphere comes out. And
early
like,
98 is the hot time for deep water horror films, I guess.
apparently. So like it truly like vanishes very quickly. Like it debuts at number 8. The number 1 at the time is still Titanic, rolling in its 7th week of release. Other new releases are the Great Expectations adaptation that came out, as well as a movie called Desperate Measures. Have you heard of this? Seen this? You heard about this?
I have heard of it. Let me
It's
look
the Michael
up here.
Keaton. It's the Michael Keaton serial killer movie. During that run in the late 90s, where Michael Keaton just decided he was going to play like non-funny, serious characters, and was really good at it, but nobody came, like Pacific Heights, stuff like that. But it's Andy Garcia and Michael Keaton. Andy Garcia is the cop, and Michael Keaton is the criminal. I don't know if he's a serial
And-
killer, but
Is it good? Or, I'm seeing a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, Andrew.
yeah, it's a choice. It's interesting, and then the top 10 is filled out with a lot of interesting stuff, like Titanic. There's Good Will Hunting still there. Spice World, As Good as It Gets. Wag the Dog. Fallen. Have you ever seen Fallen either? It's a Denzel
The
movie.
Denzel movie? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
That's a trip. And then Hard Rain, another Andy Garcia. No, that's a different one. That's Flooding. I'm thinking of Black Rain. My mistake. Hard Rain is Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater. I'm sure there's some wild movies in here, but but the point simply being that like Deep Rising debuts with almost no fanfare, and a week later has fallen to number 10, and then a week later is basically gone. And so it's not a movie that has any staying power. It kind of comes as fast, it goes as fast as it came, and that's a shame. It's a shame because I think it's awesome. It's one of those things where like I'm just like how did this happen? How did Sphere? I assume Sphere just took all the wind out of its sails, and any legs, it lost any of its legs to Sphere.
And everything is drowning in the wake of Titanic. I mean, let's make that
Titanic
point. too.
right now
People
is still crushing it, and it's pretty tough to overcome that at this point. But yeah, and so yeah, Stephen Sommers, a scant 16, 17 months later, would have The Mummy to his credit, which would, like you said, make that would make $400 million off an $80 million budget. Deep Rising had a surprisingly high budget, $45 million. And this was kind of his first like effect-driven movie. Like The Jungle Book, I guess, has a decent amount of effects, but like stuff like Tom and Huck and The Adventures of Huck Finn and Catch Me If You Can, they're not like big effects movies. But
not
obviously he
that
had work.
Catch Me If You Can, to be clear.
Not that one, to be clear, yes. I like this line in his Wikipedia, though. It says, almost 4 years later, broke and in danger of having his house repossessed, he wrote and directed an adaptation of Mark Twain's classic The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn for Walt Disney Pictures, as well as The Jungle Book. And it's like, were you really in danger of losing your house if you were that in with Disney to just direct 2 movies for them immediately? Like, how desperate were the times if you could just go to Disney and be like, guys, I'm about to lose my house. Can I just adapt some Mark Twain stuff for you?
For any
Like,
listeners that may be struggling financially, just
apparently,
consider writing a movie for the Walt
um,
Disney Company.
Apparently, that's all you got to do. And so, but yeah, The Mummy is obviously his lasting gift to the world. Directs that and its sequel. Has a writing credit on The Scorpion King, which I presume is. Oh no, he actually has a story and a screenplay credit. I assumed it was going to be like characters
Characters by, yeah.
but he actually did write on that script. Does write and direct Van Helsing, and then write and is a story credit, and then directs the first G.I. Joe movie, The Rise of Cobra. The one with Christopher Eccleston and Channing Tatum and Dennis Quaid and all them. And that's kind of the end of his big. That's kind of the end of his like star run. His only movie since that is a movie called Odd Thomas, which is based off a book by Dean Koontz that's starred Anton Yelchin and Willem Dafoe. But it is odd to me that he's never really done anything else. He does not direct the third Mummy movie that most people kind of don't acknowledge because it doesn't have all the original cast in it. But it is it's interesting. And you kind of figured after The Mummy he was kind of set for life, but it kind of reminds me of something Harold Ramis said when he was talking about how like it really is the last movie you made. It really doesn't matter. For there are some directors that kind of get carte blanche. Like if a Martin Scorsese movie bombs, he's going to get another shot. Like no one's going to say no to making a Martin Scorsese movie. But like when you're kind of seen as a little bit more, I guess, utilitarian or a utility or a journeyman, like it really is all about your last movie. And if your last movie doesn't sail, like it can be very difficult to get another movie made. Like Harold Ramis talked about how he was kind of in Hollywood jail until he made Analyze This, which was a big hit and made a bunch of money. And then they were immediately like, okay, make Analyze That, which didn't make quite as much money. So after that, they were just like, we're not really sure about this. So it's this endless struggle. But I would hope that after the run he had, he's doing just fine for himself. But it is surprising to me that he's not really been, it's been over 10 years since he's directed a film. And you just think that's kind of a shame.
I mean, he's got to be doing well financially because otherwise he would just write some movies for Disney. So if he's not doing that, he must be all right.
He's not about to lose his house, it seems. So,
all right, Andrew. Well, I'm excited to jump into this one. Talk about all the positives, everything we'd like about Deep Rising. Andrew, are you ready?
Yeah.
Captain Finnegan and his crew have agreed to take a group of armed men to a remote location in the ocean. They arrive to find a luxury cruise ship stranded on the ocean, seemingly abandoned. Once on board, they find a small group of survivors, including the owner of the ship that hired the men Finnegan was transporting to sink the ship in an insurance scheme. Unbeknownst to the would-be fraudsters, however, the ship has been boarded by a giant squid-like monster that has eaten all of the passengers with its tentacles, and now it's looking to finish its meal with the new crew on board. That's it. There's a few groups of survivors on a cruise ship. There's a giant monster. They're trying to survive. They're trying to get away. That is the bulk of the runtime here. And it is a blast. Before we get to those scenes, though, first we have to acknowledge this cast. And oh boy, what a cast it is. But you know what we're going to do. We're going to start with the high point, the best casting, best performance in the movie, because every episode we recognize one person who goes so far above and beyond the Call of Duty that they actually elevate the quality of the entire film with their performance. And we recognize that person by giving them the Mark Strong Award. So, Andrew, kick us off. Who is getting a Mark Strong Award for Deep Rising?
No question. Possible Uncle Treat Williams as John Finnegan is getting my Mark Strong Award for Deep Rising.
Wait, was that possible uncle? Is that what he said?
Just joking.
You never know.
You never know. Williams is only the third most common name in the country. I was at somewhere. I think I was at a comic book store, and they have a whole system of all the people that are buy from them, and they were just like, "Are you in the system?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What's the last name?" And I was like, "Williams," which I'm sure will narrow it down. And he didn't understand the joke I was making. Only after he searched the last name Williams and saw the like hundreds of Williams in the system did he realize that I was not that I was indeed like joking. And I was like, "Yeah, you're gonna need more to narrow it down."
Is Williams
but,
really the third most popular, or was that
in the United States?
Really? Okay.
In the United States, it's Smith, Johnson, Williams, Jones. I think.
Sounds like a law firm.
Yeah. There was a that just reminds me. There's a band called Yes. I'm not sure if you're familiar. But
Yeah.
In the late 80s, early 90s, some former members kind of all reunited to just do a new album and play some classic Yes music, but they couldn't really get the name. So they called themselves Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe, and everyone was like, "You just sound like a law firm. You just sound like a law firm." Anyway, Treat Williams is John Finnegan here. This character's a blast, I think. Never really necessarily buy him as like the unscrupulous character they really describe him as, but and that might just be kind of an act that he puts on for the sake of it. But he sits in our leading man role here, I wouldn't say quite akin to something like Brendan Fraser in The Mummy or kind of like a more classic adventure hero, but I think he's up to the task. He's got good chemistry with Famke Janssen, but who wouldn't? She's Famke Janssen. I really like this character. There's a part in this movie where he's just jet skiing through the flooded halls of a cruise ship, and I was like, "This is the greatest movie ever made." Like, this is just amazing. Like, I don't know why we still make movies when this exists, but I love this character. Obviously, he's got a morality and a sense of honor that a lot of these other characters don't have. As things go haywire, he is doing his best to try to watch out for those around him. When he fails, he actually looks like he's sad. The emotion shows. I think he does a really good job sitting in this role. Treat Williams didn't get a whole lot of spaces like this, really. Which is also, I'm kind of glad to see it. Typically, especially in like a leading man in like a big theatrical kind of big budget situation. There's plenty of stuff he's done where he was in the starring role, but it was always kind of like the substitute sequels or things like that where he just really doesn't get a whole lot. There's not really a lot of fanfare to those. So it was kind of cool to see him in a role like this where he really kind of did get to be like the hero. And I wish he'd gotten to do it more often. He does have a really, we talked about him in back on our Phantom episode, and I believe I gave him a Mark Strong there as well. So
I know we always, there's no way to go back and check, et cetera, but I am certain that he got the Mark Strong award there.
He at least got it from
Yeah.
me. I'm pretty sure you gave it to the coolest guy around, but I gave it to Treat Williams. So at least 2 Mark Strong awards to his name. I love Treat Williams. I think he's really, really good. If you have not seen, God, what is it called? Prince of the City, which is a very, very good neo-noir, co-written and directed by Sidney Lumet. It's a fantastic movie. It's him, it's Jerry Orbach, it's Bob Balaban, it's Lindsay Krause. Obviously Lumet is a legendary film director, and it is just a fantastic movie, and Treat Williams sits at the center of that. He's also in Once Upon a Time in America. He was in the original productions of Hair. Later in his career would kind of sit into more supporting roles, and obviously you look at his television accolades. He was a very prominent guest star on pretty much every television show you'd ever heard of. He was on Blue Bloods. He was on that feud show they do. He was in the Capote versus the Swans, Chicago Fire, White Collar. Everwood was a big show where he was a main role. He's just great. And I really like I really like it when I see him and stuff. And but I remember him like the Phantom is probably still the most prominent thing that I remember him from. But here he's stepping up to the task, and I think the movie is all the better for having him in that spot. I think he does a good job with it, and yeah, I'm sad there weren't 7 of these. Show me what's on that creepy island at the end of this movie.
I know
Island
the
Rising.
fact that there's
Make
a
it
big Island Rising. Treat Williams, obviously R.I.P. to the man, passed away a couple of years ago. But
Very unfortunate what happened. Deeply unfortunate. Like, was a car did not yield when he was driving his motorcycle, and just nasty crash, and he did not survive. And it's one of those things where it was completely avoidable, completely preventable. Didn't have to happen, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it is a tragedy. It's, I think that exact same thing is what happened to Mastodon's
Brett
Mastodon's
Hines,
former guitarist that passed away earlier this year. Yeah, terrible thing. I agree. I wish we had more like leading man in an action epic roles for him. I mean this as a compliment. There's a little bit of like Bruce Campbell in here, where like it's hard for me to take him on 100%. Serious isn't the right word, but there's just a little bit of camp, a little bit of goofy, a little bit of like he's 2 degrees off from your straightforward action man. He's got a little bit of the camp factor, I guess is a good way to put it. And I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, going back to the Phantom, the reason he got the emphatic Mark Strong award from you is for how over the top and campy he went with that.
He's absolutely
Which is
losing his mind in that movie, and I love it.
Which is the tone that movie was supposed to have, and I'm sure we got into it back then. But anyway, yeah, I love what he's doing here. It's a layup here. He's a real treat. Truly. R.A.P. Very deserving of the award, Andrew, but I got to go somewhere else with my Mark Strong award. I mean, first off, it's a stacked cast. We'll get into it. A lot of heavy hitters here. Some heavy hitters at the time. Some would go on to bigger things after. But I am going to give it to the actor that I think is really the heart of this movie at the end of the day. And that is Kevin J. O'Connor as Joey. This is a crew member on Finnegan's little boat. He, the very next year, would play Benny in The Mummy, which is absolutely what I most associate this actor with. He's been in a ton of stuff, but as soon as he's on screen, I'm like, oh, that's Benny. Benny's in this movie. This is before I even realized this was a Stephen Sommers movie, but it's the first thing, he's got like this Weasley way about him, this like his voice, like his little Weasley, unsure of himself voice. But the reason he's getting my Mark Strong award, because as soon as he's on screen, I'm like, okay, he's going to be a scamp. He's going to be a motor mouth. He's going to be trying to be funny all the time. He's going to get irritating, but he never really does. He's so earnest, and he like proves himself again and again as like a really good dude who's willing to help out anyone, even people with like a gun to his head. And I really like the line that he finds for this character, that it's in lesser hands this character would have been grating to us, the audience, but instead he's annoying to the guys with guns but lovable to us. What happens between him and Wes Studi by the end of this movie I absolutely love. His girlfriend is on the ship, and they have a sweet relationship, and then it's pretty heavy hitting when he realizes that she doesn't make it to the end, so he gets to play that layer to it as well. But genuinely very funny, genuinely like saves the day, and I think it was a bit of elevating the movie, sure, but he elevates this part, I think, way above what it could have been. I'm a big fan of everything I've seen him in, which is pretty limited. The Mummy's the first thing I go to, but he was also in a TV show, I think in 2019, called On Becoming a God in Central Florida. I think this was on Showtime. It's a Kirsten Dunst show. He plays a super creepy, weird character in that. that like walks around with no shoes. It only lasted for one season. It was sort of quietly canceled with COVID. They just by the time production was up again, everyone was out of their contract, so it's kind of a bummer. But it's worth watching just that one season. So all that is to say, he's still out there, still doing his thing. Still an odd-looking guy with a weird voice that is very effective on screen. That's true of everything I've ever seen him in. And I'm happy to give him the Mark Strong Award for his work here in Deep Rising.
I think this is a good pick. He's also in a movie called Exorcism at 60,000 Feet, which has a gnarly poster.
Now that's a good title, Andrew. I hear that.
Yeah.
I'm in. I get it. I know the hook.
Yeah, nothing else there. This movie has a weird cast. It's got Bai Ling, Lance Henriksen, Adrienne Barbeau. This is a very specific movie that's not aiming high. So yeah, it's got this like the bottom half of it is just kind of a classic. Like it's got a photo of everyone with their name above it, but then like the upper half is this Iron Maiden-esque illustration of this like skull, this cloud shaped like a skull with lightning in its eyes about to bite into the plane. And I'm like, brutal. I love it. I'm going to watch this movie based off that alone. It's not going to be good. It's got Bai Ling in it, but like it's gonna, I know what I'm getting. But I agree. And I knew who this was the minute I heard his voice. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's Benny. Like I know that voice. Like I know this man sounds exactly the same in everything he does as you do, because that's how voices work. But he is very, very good here. There's a lot of heart to this character. I like it a lot. Like you said, you're kind of waiting for him to be like a Benny-esque character, but like he's not. He's got a lot of, again, it kind of doesn't really vibe with this idea that like these guys are like unscrupulous boat people that just like drive people with no questions asked. But at the same time, it kind of makes them a lot more endearing when their actual morals show up, and especially as things start going wrong. And like I said, the moment he has with Wes Studi at the end, I think kind of illustrates that perfectly. But I think this is a really, really good pick. I like this character a lot. I like, obviously, like I said, Kevin J. O'Connor out there still doing his thing. Was definitely a favorite of Stephen Sommers there for a while. Shows up in Deep Rising, The Mummy, Van Helsing, G.I. Joe. He had a cameo as Dr. Mindbender. And he's also in a movie called Flight of the Living Dead. This man is in 2 horror movies set on planes that have fantastic titles that I will never be upset at. He's also in There Will Be Blood. I don't know if we talked about that. Did you talk about that? But he's in There Will Be
not.
Blood. And he's very good in it. So anyway, it's good stuff. I think this is a good pick. And yeah, the movie is all the better for him being in it.
So Exorcism at 60,000 feet, and then Flight of the Living Dead, Outbreak on a Plane, where the tagline is Undead at 30,000 feet. Andrew, what's the cruising altitude of an airplane? Because there's a 30,000 foot difference between these two.
Yeah, my understanding is it's usually 30,000 feet, but
okay.
It's
but you got to go really high. If you're doing exorcism, you've got to get that extra 30,000 feet.
Yeah, you got to get the air thinner because demons can't breathe up there.
All right. You mentioned her earlier. The wonderful Famke Janssen is in this movie as Trillian St. James. Yeah. It's interesting because we kind of have 2 groups here. We have the crew of the cruise liner. I guess we have like 3 groups. So the crew of the cruise liner. We have the mercenaries that were hired to take down the ship. And then we have Captain Finnegan's crew. And then Famke is playing one of the people that was just a passenger on the cruise liner, but she's almost like a Catwoman-esque character where you get the feeling that she herself isn't like a rich socialite. She's there to rob all the other rich socialites. So she's kind of out there for herself. She kind of floats between everything. She's a one-man crew here, but she does join up with Finnegan and his gang once they're all on board and spends most of the movie with that crew. But she's a bit of a wild card in this movie. And I think I mean, we've actually had a chance to talk about Famke a number of times. So we did X3, which I feel like we must have talked about her in multiple X-Men movies, but I think really that's the only one. But she also came up in, oh boy, which one, Andrew? The Haunting or Haunting a House on Haunted Hill?
The House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah. So we talked about it there as well. So we've had our time to fawn over.
She would have
Famke,
also
but-
been in The Faculty, so no matter what option we chose this week, we were getting
Well,
a dose of
we
Famke.
didn't tell the people that was the movie we were considering. Now they're going to
Oh,
demand that we
sorry,
cover The
folks.
Faculty, Andrew.
Sorry, folks. It was Virus, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, which I don't
You're
even think
welcome.
we considered, but we could have definitely also done.
Sure.
But
Is that a horror? I mean,
Virus? I would say so. Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I feel like it's more like scary computer stuff. But
Science fiction horror film.
okay, well there you go.
And let's see. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to read too much about it. I don't know that I've watched Virus. Yeah, we definitely talked about her in X-Men 3. We didn't do the Wolverine. But yeah. we
No,
definitely
because
had
the
our chance.
Wolverine rules people.
It does.
It's
It
like the
is
forgotten
underrated.
Wolverine movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Underrated. It's odd to say that the Wolverine is underrated, but yeah, it does not get the flowers that it deserves. But yeah, Famke Janssen is awesome, and this is like definitely like she's at the peak of her powers here. I think like this is GoldenEye was 95. You've got Deep Rising here, and then obviously stuff like The Faculty, House on Haunted Hill, and then X-Men in 2000. Yeah, she's yeah, she's Famke Janssen, man. Like, I'm not even gonna like.
What
say
a
it.
cool name too. Kudos. Kudos for not trying to like take on a stage name that's easier for people to remember pronounce. I mean, just sticking with Famke Janssen, I think is super cool, super memorable. She's great. Love her time she shows up. She's wonderful here. I know, but sometimes people still, will change their name to make it just more marketable if it's unique.
Yeah.
I'm glad she didn't do that.
I'm glad she did not do that. But yeah, she is, she's still out there, still doing her thing to a degree. She was in, I feel like I saw her in a movie not that long ago, but I don't recognize anything recently. But she was also there was some Blacklist spin-offs that she did and things like that. And so she's still out there doing her thing. Still would. Just saying.
We also have Anthony Heald as Simon Canton. Now, this is the owner of the cruise liner. So, for the first maybe half of the movie or so, we think he is a victim here of this giant monster taking over his ship after someone has sacrificed the computer on board to leave them stranded without any way of reaching out for help. But we come to find out that he actually sacrificed his own ship for the insurance money, Andrew. But what he didn't know was there was a giant monster coming up at that exact moment. What are the odds?
I mean, he's
like
still
this guy.
a victim, to be clear. Like, he's still a victim in this situation. Like, it's still bad things happening. But, like, he obviously was not expecting all of that.
We're less empathetic once we know the truth, though. Yeah, is that at least fair to say?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a bad dude.
I mean, I'm not empathetic to him at all, really. But like, he wasn't anticipating his ship being attacked by a giant tentacle monster. Like, still very much a victim in that regard.
He is a victim, but he's also a bad guy. I mean, even after all this, he is trying to screw over everyone else to be the sole survivor here, and he gets his. I mean, he gets his comeuppance in a very satisfactory way. I love whenever our bad guy gets like a super pathetic death with no dignity, and that's exactly what happens to him at the end. I like the unraveling of this character whenever he is in the very beginning, he's like telling everybody how this was his dream to have this luxury cruise liner. His dreams have come true. He seems very much like in control, has everything all together, but jump cut like an hour later when he is like explaining his theory on what the squid monster is, and he's got these broken glasses that are like at a 45-degree angle, and he's just all sweaty, and it's funny to watch this character unravel. He does a good job.
It's an interesting set of circumstances, because like he's still driven by what we find out, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about like the plot of the movie, is that he built this like luxury cruise liner that's so luxury that he basically can't afford to run it. So he's basically planning this whole thing to be insurance fraud, to sink the ship, collect all the insurance money, but like, you know, rob the passengers. Everybody gets their stuff back. Nobody gets hurt. Blah 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 blah. And then obviously a giant monster shows up, which is the plot of most giant monster movies, to be fair.
It just shows
X,
up.
Y, and Z, and then a giant monster shows up. Like it could be anything else in the world. Be like, guys, we're heading up north to go to our annual bridge tournament. Boom, giant monster appears. And at that bridge tournament, we're gonna rob everybody and steal their money, and then blow up the building for insurance money. But it's so he's still driven by that like insurance fraud. So even when things start unraveling, he just sees this as an opportunity. He's like, oh, now the ship actually was attacked by something and was sunk, and like so all that's fine. Which is kind of wild that he still feels like he needs to kill everybody, because like his ship was definitely attacked by something at this point. Like
Yes.
but he still doesn't want any witnesses because they're gonna know that he was trying to fraud it in the first place. So that desperation and that kind of descent into madness almost is pretty good. And Anthony Heald does a great job doing that. I feel like we've talked about this man before. I don't know why. I guess I see here he was in X-Men 3, and I probably mentioned in X-Men 3 that he was in the movie Bushwhacked.
Just any way to get back to Bushwhacked.
It all comes back to Bushwhacked, man. He was also in Red Dragon, which is probably the much more notable thing that he was in. But he was also in Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, he's Dr. Frederick Chilton in both of those movies. So definitely both the higher profile things he's known for. But all roads lead back to Bushwhacked. Yeah, and in Bushwhacked, he's largely off screen. But his name in Bushwhacked has always got me. It's Reinhard Bragdon, which sounds like the most pompous, like, billionaire douche name you could possibly think of. And he plays that perfectly there. But yeah, here he plays this perfectly. Like, you know, from the kind of smarmy, just like, you're all rich and you're giving me your money to start with, and then the like crazed desperation at like, oh god, these monsters are killing us and attacking us and there's no way out, all the way around to, well, cool, now I can survive and take everybody else out. It's all perfect. He does a great job with all of it. And he is a fantastic sub-villain of this movie.
Wes Studi plays Hanover. He is the leader of the mercenaries that were hired in this fraud, in this scheme to sink the ship. So he's in charge of all the bad dudes and slowly loses command throughout the movie. Him and Finnegan are really duking it out for who's in charge of the plan to escape this ship. But he's a bad dude that you don't want to mess with. Of course, Wes Studi, just an absolute legend of the screen. Very well-respected Native American actor, known for his roles in things like Dances with Wolves and Last of the Mohicans. But we talked about him in movies like Street Fighter, Mystery Men, and now Deep Rising. So, look, maybe these aren't the movies he was winning awards for, but he is fantastic in all of those. Like, no, I'm sure we said it on those episodes, like, especially Mystery Men. I mean, Andrew, what's the name of his character there?
The Sphinx.
Sphinx.
Terribly mysterious. He's terribly mysterious. Yeah, and I hear he can like cut guns in half with his mind. Really, I hadn't heard that. But yeah, he's like, yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, you look at this dude: Dances with Wolves, Last of the Mohicans, Geronimo, an American Legend, The New World, Heat. Like, these just absolute like high profile, critically acclaimed films. A Million Ways to Die in the West, Mystery Men, all this other things just tacked on at the end where you're like, oh, here's the other stuff. And we've talked about almost all the other stuff. But was the first Native American as well as the first indigenous person from North America to be honored by the Academy, though. So good for him. But yeah, he is the leader of our mercenaries, essentially our third group here. We've got Treat and his group, we've got the cruise group, and then we've got the mercenaries, and he is the leader of that group. And he's not terribly mysterious here. You know he's up to something almost immediately. So, and he does not cut any guns in half with his mind, unfortunately. And I completely forgot that he played Sagat in Street Fighter. I don't know why.
I totally
forgotten
did too.
that,
Yeah.
like I remember other people from Street Fighter, but not him. But yeah, he's doing a perfectly good job here, leading this group. Like I said, he forms an interesting bond with Kevin J. O'Connor's character as the movie goes on. His ending is fitting in a lot of ways for his character, and just kind of how he treats people throughout this movie. And we'll talk more about that with scenes, but otherwise, yeah, Wes Studi adding a little, punching up this cast even more. Like this cast is, like I said, we're not even done. We're not even like halfway done yet with who's in this movie. It's ridiculous.
And so many alums of the show. We already talked about Treat Williams, alum of the show. Famke Janssen, alum of the show. Wes Studi, alum of the show. Jason Fleming, alum of the show, plays Mulligan. This is another one of the mercenaries. We talked to him back on The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. God, why did I waste so much time saying that? We talked about him on LXG, Andrew, as we all like to call that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And is he Jekyll and Hyde there? I mean, might have picked up a Mark Strong award there.
Might have.
No way to check. No way to know. We don't know. He's also, I believe he's in, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I was trying to figure out where I most associate him with.
He's
in
also
Snatch as well.
Alum of the show from Rockstar. Plays the Halford insert. He is all over the place.
He is.
It's not a whole lot to do here. Most
his final scene where he is terrified, he wants to hunker down and not leave the room, and that doesn't go well for him. I mean, that's his big moment for sure. But yeah, I mean, we just rattled off a bunch of his credits. I like him anytime he shows up. Has a very in another world probably would have been a great Joker. He has a great conniving evil smile he uses to great effect. Also on the mercenaries, we have Cliff Curtis, who is, I think one of my texts to you when I watched this was like, this movie is full of like actors I recognize but don't know their name. I could not have told you Cliff Curtis's name, but I know I've seen him before. He's been in a ton of stuff, and even scrolling through his credits, I mean, I don't know, maybe Blow, Training Day, Push. I'm not sure what movie it's jumping out to me. I just know that I've seen this guy. And we can go ahead.
I definitely remember from Die Hard 4 back when that came out. Like I know he played like the FBI director in Die Hard 4. So
okay.
I know I saw him there. Avatar 2. I guess he's not in the first Avatar. But he does have a prominent role in Avatar 2, and then we'll be back in Avatar 3. But obviously, you can't really tell that it's him in Avatar. But yeah, he's a guy that like I know he's in a bunch of stuff. I know I've seen him, but I have that same kind of thing where I'm like, is Die Hard 4 all I know this guy for? That feels weird. Like it feels strange. But like I said, Training Day, The Insider. I don't know if you've ever seen The Insider. It's a Michael Mann film.
Not.
But it's very, very good. Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. That one's fantastic. Christopher Plummer. Runaway Jury. Collateral Damage might be another one that I know him from. The kind of late stage Arnold movie right before he became the governor.
Right.
So definitely, I think it's a lot of small things. Like even Sunshine, the Danny Boyle film, he was in that. So I think there's enough things that he's been like featured in that it works. He was also more recently was in Doctor Sleep, which was the way better than it had any right to be late stage sequel to The Shining, written and directed by Mike Flanagan. But yeah. But here, yeah, like not a whole lot here. He's one of our early deaths when the nature of our creatures are unknown, but serves his purpose quite well in this large ensemble.
Clifton Powell is really all the mercenary guys are muscle, but he's the most defined by being an angry, shoot at anything type character. Him and Trevor Goddard, who we'll talk about here in a moment. Eventually going to be fodder. It's what most of these mercenary guys are. And we can kind of, I think, just round out the mercenary team here. We have alum of the show, Trevor Goddard as T-Ray. And then alum of the show, uh, Jaimin Unsu as, what's his character's name here? Vivo. I know we talked about him on The Island. I feel like we've talked about him multiple times, Jaimin. But he dies surprisingly early. He's like the first mercenary to die, which I guess is only surprising because he's arguably now the most famous of the group, but I guess in 1998 he wasn't. But it's a group of mercenaries. They get these big guns that they love shooting. There's a great part where like they just like hear something move in the darkness and they all open fire on it, shooting at nothing, which you've seen a million times in action movies. But whenever they all stop, Treat Williams like, guys, stop. They like take a beat and they just start firing again, like just for fun. Like they know that there's nothing there. They just want an excuse to fire these new weapons they're super excited about. Real quick here. Okay, so Trevor Goddard. We've talked about him back on Mortal Kombat. He played Kano in the 1995 movie. I love to share the bit of trivia here where he played Kano as an Australian in that movie. And that changed the character of Kano in the video games. From that point forward, he was Australian rather than Chinese American. But something struck me watching him here, because I knew from covering him back in Mortal Kombat that he was actually an English actor. But here in this movie, I'm like, well, he still sounds like Kano. He still sounds Australian. And so I looked through his Wikipedia, and I was like, well, did he maybe move to Australia? Did he go to school in Australia? I see nothing like that. But there is one line here that just says, for much of his career, he claimed to be of Australian descent and often played Australian characters. What? Now, there's not much to that. I mean, the link to that is just it's an article of his like death. It's like an obituary, yeah. So it's not like a deep dive into him. I mean, it hardly. I mean, it says an Englishman who masqueraded as an Australian to land his recurring role on TBS's hit military drama. I don't know if there's really truth to that. I don't know.
It's like Jag. The implication there seems to be that like he faked the accent for Jag. And that was 98, and Mortal Kombat
Would they
was
care?
95? Like, no. Like, Jag is about American military lawyers. Like, I don't understand there. Like, the other line that gets me here is, it says in his career, it has, however, his accent in the film was mistakenly interpreted as Australian, which led to Kano being portrayed as Australian in future installments. Now, that one doesn't even have a citation. So I think this is a lot of, like, source, trust me, bro. But yeah, I don't think there's a lot of details here. But obviously, rest in peace to Trevor Goddard. No longer with us.
I wonder if he just sounded like that. Like, what if that was just
maybe
for whatever reason how his London accent came out? It just sounded Australian. I don't know. I don't know.
Very
but yeah, unfortunately, he passed away. 03 a while ago now. So I don't think we'll ever get these answers. But he's really funny in this movie, though. he's all these guys kind of play dumb meatheads like really, really well. They all play off of Mark Strong Award winner Kevin J. O'Connor's character very well. Especially there's a period of time where Trevor Goddard's character is like sent to like look after Joey, and at one point Joey's like, "What's that smell?" And Trevor like smacks him in the face. He's like, "I didn't say it was you." Like he wasn't even like insulting him. He just took it that way.
Just literally like, good. "What is that smell?" And he was like, "How dare you?"
Very fun.
Good stuff.
But yeah, what a cast! A lot of alums.
What a cast. I saw Clifton Powell was apparently the dad in Three Ninjas partner. I just see he's listed as FBI agent Jerry Curl, Sam's partner, and Sam is he's one of the only people in this cast that in the Three Ninjas page that has a Wikipedia page of the 20 people listed, like 5 of them,
like him and Grandpa.
Page. Yeah, it's Grandpa, one of the Three Ninjas, a couple of the villain guys too, and that's it. But it's like I said, this whole cat, like Treat Williams, alum of the show. Famke Janssen, alum of the show. Anthony Heald, I know I've talked about, so I'm guessing it was X3, alum of the show. Like Wes Studi, Jason Fleming, like Trevor Goddard, Unsu, like all these people. Like we've talked about so many of them before. And the last one I do want to call out, I don't know if we did this, but it's Derek O'Connor, who plays Captain H.W. Atherton, which is a proper posh English name. But he is our captain and also one of the survivors, I suppose, of the cruise crew. One of the only two. There's three actually, I guess technically, because Anthony Heald, him, and Famke Janssen, but the other ones they all accidentally kill. But he's just got a long time career. Worked with Terry Gilliam a lot. Was in Jabberwocky and Time
And
Bandits. He
Andrew,
also played
he's also an alum of the show.
from. Hold on.
This is tough because we probably didn't even talk about his character, but he's the priest in Daredevil.
Daredevil. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, I would not have known it if I wasn't looking at the list. But it's just one more actor in this movie. I mean, I think 90% of these
also
actors we
the,
talked about before.
I think he's also the villain in Lethal Weapon 2, or one of the villains in Lethal Weapon 2. But anyway, yeah, he's one of the villains because Joss Ackland's the main villain. But anyway, it's surprisingly stacked cast. I also did want to shout out, I think it's Una Damon is the actress's name. She plays Layla, who's the other member of Finnegan's crew. She is also Joey's girlfriend. I know I've seen her in other stuff. She was in... What am I thinking of? She was in this. There's definitely something else I've seen her in. She's in Gattaca. She is also in Deep Impact. She's also in The Truman Show. And
So another alum of the show.
Yeah. And also was apparently the lab tour guide in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man. So
Oh,
quite an
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
like
yeah.
I definitely like saw that and was like, oh, that
They ask
seems
her about the
familiar.
missing spider. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was
the-
all over the place there for a while.
I gotta say this. In a movie about a giant squid attacking a cruise ship, the most unrealistic thing in this movie is that Joey would pull a girlfriend like this. I love the guy, heart of gold.
Hey man, it's about personality.
I mean, he does have a heck of a personality. Goofy looking guy, though. I'm
Probably hung like a
sorry.
horse.
Hung like a giant squid. All right, Andrew. We've got to talk about the scenes in this movie because they're so fun. There's so much to talk about, and we are going to start by talking about the best scene in the movie, or at least our personal favorite. So, Andrew, in your opinion, when is this movie firing at all cylinders? What is the best scene in Deep Rising?
I am gonna go with I want to say it's I'm gonna call it the hallway scene. I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about, but it is.
Is that when the elevator drops to the bottom floor?
It's they're in this hallway, and I think it's the first place they run into like the skeletons, like the digested skeleton.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
this
yeah.
hallway. But then as they're standing there like horrified at finding all of this, they turn back and like this door starts like getting pounded in. And like you see the door like bending and curling. But then eventually the effect like starts coming down the hallway. And
Yes.
like the whole corridor just starts like getting crushed and broken in and like compressed down. And it's just so well done and cool. Like I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is like it appears to be largely practical.
Yeah.
It's obviously the tone has been set with this scene. It's not long, it's only a couple of minutes, but so it starts off, it might have been right when they got off the elevator, after it like crashed to the bottom.
Yes,
I don't
that's when
remember
it is.
specifically. And so it's just this super, super awesome sequence that, we all get out of the elevator. The elevator has been like attacked by this monster repeatedly. They think they're going to get up and then it crashes back down. It finally crashes back down. This is when like the whole group is together, or our remaining group kind of, is all here. And just that they walk into that hallway and it's just covered in blood. It's got the skeletal remains anywhere. And then suddenly this door just starts like bending in. And it is just so well done. It's presumably practical. Earlier in the scene, Wes Studi's character wouldn't give Treat Williams a gun, but once the hallway starts compressing, he gives it to him because at this point, we're in trouble now. So, but just the way this all happens, the way they bend this in, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, it obviously it reminds me of Christine a little bit, like the sequences with the car, where like,
Ooh,
I don't know
good
if you've
pull,
seen
yeah.
Christine, but like that's.
It gets crushed and then like pops back out into
Yeah, like it
plays, right? They're talking
undamages itself. And like
Yeah,
I can only presume all of that was done backwards, but like it comes off so well. I remember when they did that, they did a 40th anniversary of that back on the big screen and I watched it and I was just like amazed. Like I was just like, this is amazing. This looks so good. It doesn't look cheesy. It comes off so well. And like you said, I can only presume that it's all just backwards. Like they're actually like crushing the car in real time and then just running the footage backwards. But it just looks so good. And here it's a very similar vibe, especially in like the latter half where like, because it kind of starts crushing it and then it stops and then like it just ramps up and it just starts like collapsing more and more. It starts crushing all the way down the hallway. You can actually even kind of see that it's like a tentacle movement following through the walls, and it's just such a cool effect. I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is fantastic. This is exactly the kind of stuff. It builds that tension. It's genuinely unsettling, pretty scary. And it's all practical. Like it's there's no CG here. It's just they're really crushing this probably Coke can thin walls around all of our characters. But
that's what I love about it so much is that I don't know for sure exactly how they did it, but you can look at it and see, okay, this looks like a heavy steel door. This looks like a steel corridor. So they probably just make it out of different material, bang it from the outside, or have a rig crush it. It's like I can see the mechanics, but it's so effective. Like it still works so well. Even being able to maybe see how it's being done, it's a real door getting bent in. It's a real hallway crushing. Like it gives you that real claustrophobic feeling, that real feeling of like, man, whatever's behind this door must be massive. It sells it so well. We'll get to the creature. We'll talk about it. The creature, as far as I can tell, 100% CG every time we see it. I don't think I ever saw like a practical version of the creature, but I'm totally fine with it. Like it totally worked for me. Like it looks dated-ish. It looks like 1998 special effects when you see it. But the reason it works is because of scenes like this. Like we see the effect of it. We see the fear. Right. We see what it can do. We see the impact without seeing the thing itself so much that it sells it so well. I mean, there's a scene earlier where they're running down the hallway and the steel grates of the floor are popping up as it races down after them. Like they find so many clever ways to show how powerful this thing is or what the effect it has on the ship without showing the thing itself, which is just super smart. But Andrew, I'm going to agree with you. I think this is also the best scene in the movie. Like I said, they're on that elevator. They lose control of it. It plummets to the ground. They fall off. They hadn't seen any bodies to that point, couldn't find any people, no remains, but as soon as they get off in this hallway, the white walls are just splattered with blood. I mean, like Evil Dead 2 levels of blood just everywhere. And like you said, skeletal remains, like specifically full-on skeletons, not dead bodies, not decomposing, not bloated, but like skeletons. We would later find out that the monster eats them, liquefies all the skin and muscle, and then spits out the bones. We find like the big graveyard or boneyard later, so that's why it's just skeletons, almost like Mars Attacks skeletons, like when they get zapped, like it's just the skeletal remains and lots of blood. So it's like they get off the elevator like in hell already, like it already has that aesthetic. And then like you said, that steel door at the end, slowly at first, starts banging and beginning bent. Something an effect you've seen in a movie, no doubt. A big heavy door getting bent. But like you said, once it starts crushing the entire hallway itself, it just takes it to another level.
It's awesome.
It's such a good.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a good encapsulation.
You just love to see in movies. You just love to see it in movies where like, and I think that's what makes, and you can, and this is all stuff that like Summers would use to pretty good effect in The Mummy as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, The Mummy is definitely leaning a lot more into effects. Obviously, things like the scarabs, things like the Mummy himself, a lot of the effects he's got, but it's still married with this practical and this practicality. And it's the merging of the two. And you'll find that like most of the movies that hold up from this time period are the movies that work to be a good mix. Like you think the other one I think of that oddly I think holds up surprisingly well is like Independence Day. Like, quality of the film aside, I think that movie largely from an effects perspective holds
that
up.
movie, you don't have to no
okay,
asterisks here. The movie
okay,
rules. I love it.
Excellent. Okay, as long as we're all on the same page. But like there are practical ships that are used. There are model ships that are used. There are practical alien suits that are used. The practical aliens are like there's practical versions of almost everything you see in that movie, which aid in the fact that when it is CG, maybe it's not quite on that level, but it's still just a piece of a larger puzzle. When you take something that you try to make just CG, and there's plenty of examples in the late 90s, early 2000s of movies where they try to make that leap a little too soon. We've talked about things like that before where the CG just isn't quite there.
I mean, you look at The Matrix, which is a great hybrid, like you're talking about, tons of wire work and practical effects and CG when you need it, versus The Matrix, what's the second one? Reloaded, where there's full CG body replacements, and we're like, maybe it was too soon for that.
Especially, and then like even in Revelations, where you do the big fight with Smith and Neo, where like it's the same kind of thing, where like it's all body replacement. And you're like, I don't know if we were quite there yet, but it's something where like I think that marriage of the two it's the sweet spot. Even looking back into like the 80s, something like Ghostbusters. Like Ghostbusters has effects in it, and not CG in like the classic sense, but like so much of it is practical and stop motion and these other pieces of it that makes it work. And those are the things that tend to hold up, that where maybe there is something that doesn't quite hold up, but as part of the larger canvas, it doesn't really bother you. It doesn't stand out as much. And this movie, there's a few scenes where I think you can definitely, it stands out a little bit, but it's this sense here, because it's not just building up, like the whole thing is building up the tension. It's building up the fear. It's building up the uncertainty, because to this point, we still don't know what this thing is or what these things are, because they believe it's like a legion of things originally. But and it all works. The Jaws method. And even in Jaws, we'd probably seen more of the shark than we do of the creatures to this point. But when you're in this situation, and then to me, this scene is enhanced by the fact that like cruise ships are like sturdy. Like these things are built to handle like ocean pressures and stuff. So when you see something like ripping through it like tissue paper, that's terrifying. Because you're like, whatever this thing is, nothing stands in its way.
Everyone in the world had seen Titanic in theaters 3 times by this point. Everyone knew how long it takes to sink a large ship.
It takes forever, and Billy Zane's a real jerk. But that's actually why people didn't see this. It was a movie about a cruise ship, and everyone's like, we saw that one already. This scene is just fantastic. It's just tremendous. It's everything that you love about this. It's working. Like, I can just imagine that this was just like a set that they built that was just literally like this hallway, and they literally just had a bunch of pressure stuff on the outside that was like, all right, now crush it. And it's just so cool. It's just, you're seeing the craft at work, and that's just
and excellent point about the marriage of CG and practical, and this being such a great era for it. The Mummy the next year, there's a lot of shots. Like, there's stuff that is obvious CG, like the Mummy himself when he first forms and he's skeletal. Like, I think we all knew that was CG back then, and we can kind of see it now. It's dated, but there's stuff that you don't really realize where the line is. Like in the Mummy and like flashbacks to ancient Egypt, and there's these big sweeping shots of Egypt. It's like, well, they didn't rebuild the Sphinx and the statues and everything, but there's a mix of models and CG and practical, and it's all blended to make the effect. And there's this shot early in this movie where I was like, man, if they are going this hard for this, I can't wait to see what's in store. It's very early on. It's the first time we see the cruise ship. The camera is just, I mean, the cruise ship is like on the horizon in the distance. The camera is just slowly drifting over the ocean water, getting closer and closer to the cruise ship. And I'm like, okay, so like it's gonna like cut to the inside of this cruise liner, right? But it keeps going closer and closer and closer. I'm like, wow, are we gonna like see actual people on the side of this cruise ship? Because this is clearly like a model or something. And not only does it get so close you can see the people, it never cuts, and the camera goes through a door and into the ballroom of the cruise ship where there's a big party going on. And I'm like, wow. I mean, like I could, you could study that scene and maybe pull apart but I guarantee you it's a mix of CG, of models, and a hidden cut where they switch. Because, there's no drone shots at the time. Like, there's no way to actually make that one continuous shot, but they hide the splice like so well. It's so seamless. And like I said, like that's not even a creature effect. That's not even a jump scare or anything. That's just like wowing you with its like craft before we even get to the good stuff to come later on. And that comes so early in the movie. So I was really blown away with that clever little shot there. Like I said, we zoom all the way into the cruise ship with this big party going on. Super, super cool. Andrew, I've got to agree with the skeleton hallway crushing is my favorite scene, but a scene I was considering, and we mentioned it earlier, I want to dive into, is how Wes Studi meets his demise. Because throughout the movie, they do a good job of like separating people into smaller groups, and they all have to run for their lives. And at one point, it's Kevin J. O'Connor, and Wes Studi running down a flooded hallway, and the tentacle is chasing them, right? And they're like, Joey's like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And Wes Studi says, the only way to slow it down is defeat it. And Joey's like, feels his pockets. He's like, I've got a stick of gum. What are you supposed to feed it? And he asks like 3, what are you supposed to feed it? What are you supposed to feed it? And like the audience, you're like, what's coming. You're like, oh, right. Sweet Joey, you know what he's gonna do. This is a bad guy.
Idea what's coming? Yeah.
He pulls out a gun, he shoots Joey in the leg, and keeps running. I mean, doesn't even hesitate. Just sacrifices him so the tentacle will eat Joey, and Wes Studi can get away. But Joey, he escapes death a number of times in this movie. Crafty little guy. He jumps through like a trash chute to get away, so we know that he lives. The tentacle does catch up to Wes Studi, though. And next time we see him, he is on a table being half digested by the monster in immense pain. Joey sees him and he runs away, but before he gets out of the room, his conscience kind of takes over and he walks back to him. And this part I've seen in movies a lot. Movies like this, monster movies. They do it in Dawn of the Dead. It's a mercy kill. Someone is either badly injured or about to be killed by the monster, so you want to make sure they die before that happens. So he gives Wes Studi a gun, says, don't say I never did anything for you. Even though Wes Studi tried to kill Joey moments before in the hallway, he's going to do the right thing, the humane thing, give him a gun so he can put himself out of his misery. Joey takes off again, and then Wes Studi, what does he do? He doesn't shoot himself in the head. He aims it at Joey and tries to shoot him. And Joey, when the gun goes off, he turns around and he goes, you tall, and runs off. And I love this because there's one more beat that really sells this. Like, we get the mercy kill thing. We got Wes Studi. Man, he's so petty. He tries to kill Joey instead. He turns the gun to himself. So dramatic. Puts it up to his temple, cocks it, pulls the trigger. It's empty. He wasted the last bullet trying to shoot Joey. Now he can't kill himself. Now he has to deal with being digested alive. Man, I love when a bad guy gets his just desserts. I mean, this dude is like bad, irredeemable throughout the movie. He's a jerk to everybody, tries to kill Joey. He wastes Joey's mercy by trying to take one last shot at killing Joey. I didn't see it coming. I mean, I was like, okay, now he's gonna kill himself. He doesn't have any bullets. I'm like, man, that is so sweet. Like, I loved every beat of this character's death. It was certainly one of my favorites. And like I said, I've seen the mercy kill thing, but I've never seen it play out quite like this, and it was very, very satisfying.
Oh yeah, this was a great twist on that, with just like Wes Studi's character is just so like, the notion that he's caught and that guy isn't is so infuriating to him that even in that moment where the monster is literally slowly digesting him anaconda style, he still just wants to kill Joey first, and then he'll kill himself. And the fact that in trying to kill Joey, one, he fails, and then two, the only bullet he had, he wasted, basically. So now you get to continue suffering, and it's your own fault. Like, you have no one to blame in this scenario but yourself. Like, you had the out, and you couldn't not be yourself. So, just, yeah, it's a great beat. It's a great twist on that whole process. Loved seeing it.
I love the effects in this movie throughout. I mean, Stephen Sommers and his pedigree, it's no surprise, but there's a moment when Joey's girlfriend gets killed. And I was watching this on Vudu, so I couldn't do frame by frame, but I tried. I really wanted to, because she's in the small boat trying to repair it. She doesn't go onto the cruise liner, but there's a big hole in the small boat. A dead body floats in. It's really gross. She's walking in about waist deep water. She's freaked out, looking at this dead body, and then something, we don't see it, sucks her out the hole like super fast, crazy fast. And I'm pretty sure this is practical. I think it's a dummy, and they just zip it out the door as fast as possible. I think this is what I was trying to do, like frame by frame for, because there's a cut where it's like the live actor and then whatever is getting sucked out of that hole. I don't think it was CG. I think they zip something like really fast, but it's very jarring, but a very fun effect there.
Yeah.
It was good. I like that. I like that.
They
bit.
really, really do build up this, just they set the mood and the tone so well in this movie with the creatures, of just like, you don't see them for at least half of this runtime. You don't actually see these monsters, I don't think. You guys got people that are getting pulled under the water. There's this implication that they're trying to pull people into like drains. Like, there's a scene where like a woman gets like pulled into the toilet basically and just explodes.
I mean, what
And
a classic childhood
like,
fear, right?
Yeah, I know. Like, way to make that all real again.
Yeah.
Gonna have to stand up now, but it's so well
Angie,
done.
you weren't standing up.
Not when I do certain things. But I can't trust it now. But yeah, like, I think it's full on like halfway through the movie before you actually see these creatures. And like, that's something where like it could be really tough to sell that. And it could be very difficult to really get away with that. And I think I'm trying to actually look at the runtime now to see when the things actually show up. Okay, it looks like it's like legitimately like an hour into the movie. Because there's a sequence where like, yeah, it's just after the hallway. They've kind of run into the galley of the ship, or they've run into this other space, and they're arguing with each other. And then they like look up and they see like all of the different things like swirling around, because like some stuff starts like dripping onto Joey or something. And it's just so gross and nasty. And like, it's just such an unsettling, just that image of like all the different things just like swirling through the bowel of the ship, basically. And then what
it's
happens
like when you
here
see
is
a
even like,
super long snake all coiled up, and you don't know how many snakes it is or which part is where. It's just slithering amongst. Yeah, it's very gross.
well, and then like it's made even more gnarly by the fact that like they see like a handprint on through the thing, and so they shoot it. And the other mercenary from the ship, this is so brutal, dude, because this is definitely like, I don't know how they did this. It's like practical, but it's also not, because the guy's clearly there, but he's also got CG. But like, so this
Yeah.
dude falls out of this thing's stomach. I don't know if they ever actually identify what the creature is. Not that I need them to, but like, this dude is like partially digested, and it's one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. Like, it's absolutely horrid. Like, it's terrifying. Like, it's like part of his like skull and his brain is gone. Like, skin is missing.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking straight through his hand and his jaw and stuff. And I was just like, this is horrifying. Like, this is brutal. And like, it's just a few seconds, but that's all it needs to be for this thing to be like, well, that's nightmare fuel for the rest of my life. And so that's the first moment of like us seeing the monster. And I think that looks like it's literally over 50 minutes into the movie. So you go a long time without physically seeing these things. And even then, you don't see like the face, the mouth, the tentacle, whatever. That's like just part of it. And so then the next sequence with Famke Janssen and Treat Williams kind of together, that's when we like see its face for the first time. And we see Famke Janssen and Treat Williams getting friendly, and good for him. That's all I have to say. But yeah, it is absolutely brutal. It is that reveal sequence. Like, it's not just the reveal of the thing in the ceiling, it's the partially digested guy. It's all of it. It is just so gnarly, and it's clearly CG. It's clearly late 90s CG, but in the environment, it's like it's darker. It's, it's not quite as exposed. And so there's clearly like, you can clearly tell it's CG, but it works so much. Like, because I was kind of dreading this moment. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I'm loving this movie up to this point, and I've just got this feeling of just like, oh man, like, there's no way that the CG is going to land up to this thing. And it works. Like, it's clearly CG, but it doesn't take me out of it. But then when they actually reveal like the mouths of these things, like, it's terrifying.
It is like a Doc Ock's tentacles, but like organic, like the way they had the spikes on the end. Yeah.
It's just God. And then like, it's just so gross and nasty. And like, it is brutal. I was just like, this is like, so they go hard on these reveal sequences. And like it's a sequence where like Treat Williams is like stuck at the end of the hallway, and this like monster tentacle face is just like racing down the hallway at him. And I was like, oh God. And then Famke Janssen with a gun blows the thing away, and I was just like, oof, that definitely awakened something in me. But it's
and that's one reason where like I'm totally okay with the CGs, that like these things move so fast. You could not do them practically in 19, even now. I mean, you just can't make a practical, good-looking puppet that's going to zip through a hallway at the speed that is terrifying. So I'm totally fine with going the CG route, because that's the only way you can do the effect that they're going for. And there's still, like we've been saying, enough practical stuff mixed in, like the reveal of that half-digested dude. I mean, that is the scene that they broke down on Corridor Digital, the special effects and how they did it. So if you want the breakdown, that's the first scene I ever saw from this movie, and the reason I watched it. So I'll put that video in our Discord or whatever. I love it because you see the tentacles at the like near the ceiling. They're all shooting at it, and like something is dripping onto them that's burning through their clothes. And at first you're thinking like, is this an alien situation? Does it have like acid blood? And then when that guy falls out, you realize, oh, that was its stomach. This is its stomach acid. And then, like you said, he stands up, he slowly turns around, half his skull is gone. It looks incredible. It reminds me of the Tar zombie from Return of the Living Dead. One of my favorite zombies and special effects ever on film. Just that reveal of like, how are they doing this? Like, what? Like, I can tell it's practical, but this isn't real. Like, what is this? It's it's a hell of a moment. It's so cool.
I gotta buy that movie. I don't know why I don't have it.
There's a 4K. There's a Steelbook right now that looks
is on
incredible
sale for $30 right now. So I think I'm gonna buy that.
Yeah, not bad.
I just like, it's like you said, you're talking about the craft at this point, because like that sequence of the guy getting revealed, like that's clearly CG, but like one, it doesn't really look that jarring. Like not nearly as much as you would expect.
I mean,
It is, but like
Yeah.
Like clearly there's still a human there, and I'm guessing they're doing like the tracking dots on his face to kind of remove and change certain parts of it. But like even stuff like that, like so it's not a full body replacement, which is how it still looks, which is how I think it worked. Because if it had
Yeah.
been, that wouldn't have worked. That would have been too much.
Yeah.
But like so like that sequence alone, like it's literally it's just like it's 15 seconds of looking at that guy, not even. But like it's memorable, and clearly I have no doubt that took weeks of work to pull off when you factor in all the effects and everything. But it's just again, because this is an attention to detail with a craft that is like still emerging, like CG in general and the use of it. Like this is still something, but like clearly this is all like cutting edge, and like the fact that they're putting this attention to detail and making it look this good, it's just astounding. It's tremendous. I love it so much.
I mentioned Simon getting a great bad guy death. I mean, he tries to kill Famke Janssen. He's just a bad dude throughout, trying to kill people and get away
How
from the
dare
ship,
you.
but still trying to collect the insurance. And there's this. What's happening at the end is that Treat Williams has learned that there's no repairing his small ship. He doesn't have the parts for it. It's got a little bit of gas in it. His plan is to use the torpedo they have on board and the autopilot
Torpedoes.
system to make the boat go in a small circle, come back, and crash into the cruise ship. We know that's his plan. We see him set it all up. Meanwhile, Simon, the bad guy, the owner of the cruise liner, thinks he's escaping. He sees the small boat. In his desperation, he jumps from like 2 floors up onto this little boat,
Ugh.
brutally breaks his leg. I mean, there's a crunch. He screams in pain. You see bones sticking through his leg. And we know, like, it's all for nothing. He's not getting away. And Treat Williams even says, he goes, "Oh, that's a hell of a jump." And then him and Famke just move on, like, with their lives, because they
Why
know
wouldn't
this
you?
guy is got no hope. And he slowly, like, army crawls to the front of the boat as the autopilot kicks in. And he looks up just in time to see it's autopilot, to see it's going right back to the ship, to know that he's going to die, and he blows up. I just love how long and drawn out it is. I love that he breaks his leg before dying.
And
It's
he
just-
like screams like such a coward. Like it reminds me of like full on like when William. I know I've just mentioned this recently, but like William H Macy when he gets busted at the end of Fargo, and he's just like wailing like a little child. That's what this guy's doing. Like he's just literally like this is just you're watching a coward die. This is what the man is. Man's a coward.
Yeah.
But like it's yeah, and so you're not sad to see the guy die. But I do love the sequence that follows that. Well, and then you continue with his death, what ends up happening. But
Oh, he blows up. I mean, that was pretty
yeah,
much it.
that's it. But like, so right after that sequence, like while that's happening, actually, because like while he's crawling into the boat and trying to get away, we're doing the chase sequence through the ship on the jet ski with
So cool.
Treat Williams and Famke Janssen, like. Literally like and they keep I've actually got it playing on my screen right now, this sequence right now, but like they just keep showing Anthony Heald's leg, and it's just it's so gross and unsettling. But I love this sequence with the jet ski, because they are literally they're riding a jet ski through a cruise ship that's flooded, and that's just
Yeah.
like
Dude, whenever he busts that U-turn, like, in the hallway, and, like, some stuntman really did that. It looks so cool.
like truly, like it's one of those things where I'm just like, maybe this is awakening something in me, my God. But it's like I love it because, like, you know, he says that's a heck of a jump because he's actually talking about their jump to get out of the boat. But but even through all of this, like they're doing all this jet ski stuff, and all the jet ski stuff is like practical. Like it's an actual it's it's obviously stuntmen, but like that's all happening in real time. That's all awesome. And like they're doing this, like he's got a shotgun because they've lost all their other guns. And so he's literally like shooting it, and then he's like having Famke Janssen like cock it so he can fire it again. It's like
So cool. Not
like-
since Terminator 2 have I seen such a fun, creative way to cock a shotgun on a moving
Right.
vehicle.
And like he's literally using it to blast through elevator doors and stuff. It's so good.
Hang on. Not. I got to make sure this is clear. He doesn't blast through the elevator door. He shoots
Shuts
the elevator door
Shoots the-
button, and it actually
opens the
works and
door.
makes it open. Which at this point in the movie, I'm like, yeah, that's how it
Whatever.
works. Sure,
Who
wonderful.
cares?
Yeah,
That's exactly how this works. Anybody suggesting otherwise is watching this movie wrong. And so while they're kind of driving through the ship, and what I also love about this is like there are several lifeboats still on the ship, and they never try to use them. But it's
Nah.
but eventually the plan works, and the Treat Williams ship crashes into the cruise liner with all the torpedoes, and it blows up. So now not just are we traveling through a cruise ship, we're traveling through a cruise ship on a jet ski that is blowing up. And it's even cooler because they eventually jump out of the boat. You get the whole big explosion behind them. You get the money shot of the jet ski flying out of the flaming cruise ship. And it's just so cool. And I definitely feel like there was a cruise ship model that got blown up here. Because you're watching real stuff blow up here. I know a lot of the exterior shots of the ship were CG, but like a lot of that, you're watching real models blow up. And so again, it's just, and even when they're being chased by the creature in this jet ski sequence, like you're clearly seeing like practical stuff still used. Like obviously when they're shooting the gun and it's blasting things apart, like all of that's real. When they're like going through a door and it closes behind them, you're watching all the doors are still being molded and kind of crushed. And then even when like the thing is like hitting the water, like when it first comes in, that's real like water splashes. They're using real effects to dress this up as however they can. And it's one of those things where you're just like, this is how it should be done. Like, this is what you should do. Like, you're just almost mad that more movies are just trying to do all CG when you're just like, it's so cool when you do both. When you put it all together, it works so much better. And it's just so cool. Like this whole sequence. Like this was obviously the hallway sequence is just so cool because of the way it's all put together. But just this whole sequence of them throughout the ship, I was just like, this is what I want out of my movies. This is, if somebody did Deep Rising on the big screen, I would go watch it twice. Like if somebody did this, I would like I want to find, like, I'm almost changing my, like, there's a whole, like, a joke I made a couple of weeks ago was that, like, there's a theater in Chicago called the Music Box Theater, and you can rent theaters and show whatever you want. Like, when you rent, like, an AMC theater, you have to kind of show something that's in the AMC's, like, current catalog. But, like, when you rent, like, a Music Box Theater, you can show whatever you want. And but I joked that I was going to make all my friends watch Who's Harry Crumb, which is a very unknown John Candy movie. But now I'm leaning towards, like, I think we're watching Deep Rising, guys. I think this is what we're watching. So
you never seen it
that-
before? You're in for a treat. Trust me. Trust me.
I need the 4K of Deep Rising to come out before my birthday next year. So get on that, Kino Lorber. Give it to me.
I get a lot of Resident Evil vibes from this movie. I gotta make sure I make this shout out because, Andrew, I know you still haven't played the games, but you need to get on that. You'll love them. But
No,
giant mutated monster, tentacles, shooting with guns, and even Resident Evil 4 ends with an escape down a narrow hallway and or on a jet ski.
Spoilers.
Guy and girl, like
My
trust
God.
me, you'll be fine. But yeah, a lot of Resident Evil vibes here. Want to shout out. Now, the movie, I didn't see this ending coming. Okay, so obviously Treat Williams and Famke Janssen get away on this jet ski. Everything is blown up behind them. They make it a point, and I noticed this on the explosion. They make it a point when it blows up to show a surfboard like fly towards the camera.
Yeah, when Finnegan's boat shows up, yeah, they make a point to show a surfboard. It's so cool.
Yes, and then
Gotta wonder if this is going to be important later.
I didn't think so, but by golly, they make it to this island. They're stranded on an island. There's funny little moment where he's like, so we're stranded on an island, and then Famke kisses him and says, oh, we're stranded on an island. Like it's like, all right, well, it might be all right. Got each other. And then I guess I should say that Joey died by Mark Strong Award, one of our favorite character. He was left alone on the small boat so that Treat could go get Famke, but when Treat gets back, only Joey's hat remains. There's goo everywhere. There's a busted windshield. They spend like a good, 45 seconds to a minute of Treat Williams just being really sad about the loss of Joey. So we're like, okay, he died off screen. Kind of weird, but I don't know what else could have happened here. He died. All right, back to the island, into the movie. Who washes up but Joey on the surfboard? The dude made it out. He lived, which at first I'm like, I don't know. Joey was kind of set up to sacrifice himself in some way. Like, he lost his girlfriend. He managed to make it to the end of this movie, like, by, being scrappy. Like, I feel like it was setting up a moment for him to, like, give his life so that people could get away. They don't do that. So, like, okay, well, we just giving me like a happy ending. Like, this character gets to live. Like, that's not the worst thing, right? So you got the three of them on this mysterious island, and then they hear some like loud roaring in the jungle behind them. The camera starts pulling back. It goes to like a crane shot looking down on the island. You see something huge like knocking trees over. And Treat Williams just says, well, now what? And then cut to credits.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm glad Joey
love
lived. He's going to be in the sequel. Great. We need everybody we can get. Like, I have no idea if he was... I mean, obviously, if this was like a smash hit, they would have followed up on it. But, like, I was not expecting this movie to be, like, setting up a sequel like in any way like this, much less not a sequel where like they fight the squid again, but now it's a whole other remote island with giant creatures on land now. Like, I Steven Sommers has to have like a treatment or something, or an idea. I would love to know like what he had planned, but this was such a cool, fun way to end it. It reminds me a little bit of the ending of like maybe not Cabin in the Woods. It's a little more definitive, but I don't know. I just didn't see it coming. Like, setting up another big threat at the very end. I didn't know what to compare it to, but this was a fun way to go out.
Yeah, because like we're kind of diving into this like weird like because they kind of play fast and loose with what this creature is. They imply it's like a kind of deep evolution of the Otoya, I think it's called, the Otttoia, which is an old Cambrian like worm creature. And it's basically implying that like the way it digests its the way it like sucks everything is like it's very similar. And so it implies that, but that's when they think that like each one of these tentacles is a separate thing. But eventually it's revealed that they're not. They're all tentacles that belong to one giant weird thing. So I think that kind of throws out the idea of like it's anything. But like, I mean, this is kind of what I mentioned on the Sphere episode. The bottom of the ocean is terrifying. Like, Cthulhu could be at the bottom of the ocean and we wouldn't know it. And this movie is basically about that. It's like, we're talking about there's a mountain range in the Himalayas that is like 40,000 feet down. And God knows what's down there. Because the pressures are so great, we have no idea. And this movie is basically that. This thing gets disturbed in the middle of the ocean and eventually comes up and does this, but the implication seems to go beyond that these are just giant, that these islands potentially and this whole area is just full of things that have been stewing here for God knows how long, billions of years in some cases, millions of years, whatever. But it's, is it dinosaurs? Is it giant creatures? Who knows? But like, this is definitely kind of venturing into like a Lost World Conan Doyle type thing, or like even almost a Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of thing. Yeah, I would have watched a sequel about this. I would have watched 7 sequels about this. Just throw Treat Williams onto weird places with ancient creatures, and I'm gonna watch that. Especially if Famke Janssen is there too. Like, it's what I want out of life, and this is one of those movies. Like, you think about like when you find a new song by an old band, like, or rather, you find music from an old band that you hadn't heard before, but you love it, and you realize it's just the wealth of material out there is staggering. There are millions of movies out there. There are thousands, upon millions of songs that you've never heard. but that you might love. And like, so you look at this like vast array of things where like there's no way to practically ever digest all of the things that you would probably ever like during your lifetime. But what I can say is I'm real glad I saw Deep Rising before I died.
All right, Andrew. Spooky month just rolls along. I was a little, I don't know if worried is the right word because we can do whatever we want. It's our podcast. But I didn't know if this movie would like quote unquote qualify as horror or qualify as sci-fi. But I think we're checking both of those boxes here. I mean, got a giant undersea monster. I mean, does that, I don't know if that counts as sci-fi. Is that sci-fi?
Yeah.
Does
Godzilla
sci-fi? Well, I don't know. Does sci-fi have to be something like man-made? Is that an
No.
element of sci-fi? No? Okay, then yeah, I guess we're fine.
Like you think about Independence Day. Like Independence Day.
I'm thinking like
science fiction.
the science. Yeah. I guess so. I don't know.
Like I see
So is
giant
it-
creatures as science fiction because that's like aliens are science fiction, and that's what giant creatures are basically.
Are vampires
Um,
science fiction?
If you want them to be,
Is Nosferatu a sci-fi movie?
yes.
Yeah, okay. You wouldn't call
Gothic-
it that though, right?
Gothic science fiction horror. But no, like yeah, it's
Whatever.
actually that's a great question. Like, is like Frankenstein, you could argue is science fiction, right? Like,
Because there's science in there. Like he's
yeah, but like vampires,
he's using
versus monsters.
science to do something.
Let's see, Dracula. What do you call Dracula? Dracula is a Gothic horror novel.
Like I don't think mythological
Like, would
creatures
John
are
Carpenter's
sci-fi.
would John Carpenter's vampires be a science fiction film?
Is there something special about the vampires in that movie?
No, but just like, would you? Yeah, so that's a good question.
Like I don't think Twilight's a sci-fi movie. I think like science. There's got to be like made up technology. That's what I think of sci-fi. So I don't know.
Like,
I'm like
so
arguing
Godzilla
against
is
the
called,
movie we
like, a
just covered. I guess.
like,
but
I guess like, yeah. So kaiju is considered a subgenre of science fiction because I guess biological manipulations is considered a fact of science fiction, which that would be where like this sort of stuff lands, I guess.
okay. So I don't know. We might have snuck one in here, but whatever. It doesn't matter because the movie rules. Anyway, what defines sci-fi is not my question for you, Andrew, in our Ask Andrew segment here at the end of the show. Maybe it should have been because honestly, I didn't have a question ready, but I've got to ask you something. That's how we end the episodes. I've got to ask you a question. You have to answer it. That's how we go. So here's what I did, Andrew. Well, first what I did was I Googled, is it true? And I was going to ask you like whatever Google autocorrect or, filled in.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not going to do that.
Thank
Is it true that Roblox is shutting down? Is it true that Snapchat is shutting down? Is it true that animals are leaving Yellowstone? Is it true that Jesus is coming back? Yeah, none of these are what we're gonna do here. So instead, I pulled up some icebreaker questions
Uh-oh.
that I guess you would use if you're doing like a meeting, I guess, like a business meeting. I don't know. I pulled up a list. I have a list here, and I haven't read them. Figured maybe we can do these like rapid fire. Maybe just run through a
Sure.
few rapid fire icebreaker questions. Okay, here we go.
Alright.
I've not seen these before. Here we go. Faster the better with your answers, Andrew. All right. These are called. Oh, it's broken down by like category. The first one is quirky icebreaker questions. All right. If you could hang out with any cartoon character, who would you choose and why?
The Tick. Because he's the Tick.
If you could add a word to the dictionary, what would you add and what would it mean?
What?
Make up a word and define it. What a weird icebreaker question. How about this one? If you could meet any living person for dinner, who would you pick?
That's a good question. Maybe Ryan Johnson.
Oh, good one. Teleportation or flying?
Flying.
Would you rather be invisible or be able to read minds?
Visible.
If you had 25 hours a day, how would you spend your extra time?
Sleep.
Yes, if you gave any other answer, that would be wrong. All right, food and drink icebreaker questions. Coffee or tea?
Neither.
What's the weirdest food you've ever eaten?
When I was in China, we probably had something strange, but I can't remember anything that ever got top of my head.
How do you like your eggs?
Scrambled.
What's your favorite breakfast cereal?
Cinnamon toast crunch.
Sweet, salty, or sour?
Sweet, typically.
This is an interesting one. What is something you can't cook?
Baked Alaska, or no, what's it? Baked Alaska.
Okay, is it something you've attempted before, I assume?
No, I'm never gonna do it.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll move on to entertainment icebreaker questions. If you could be in any movie, what would it be, and what character would you play? God,
That's a tough one because most movies are just terrifying to actually exist through, and like
Yeah.
so I feel like I would pick something like nonfiction, but then almost all of those are just sad. But I don't know, something like Woodward or Bernstein and like All the President's Men or something where you like did something, contributed, and then society, whatever. Best not to think about it too much. But something like Spotlight, I feel like just being on like a cutting edge breaking story like that would just be a cool thing to be a part of. But the stories themselves are just horrifying. So tough.
I would be in Deep Rising, and the character I play is someone on land that never went out to the ocean. I'm just living a normal life, and I get to read about the stuff in the news.
That's like, people are always like, what movie would you be in? It's like, yeah, you take a movie that has like an isolated incident in one specific spot, and you're like, yeah, and I'd just be on the other side of the planet. Like, I don't have to deal with this at all. Like,
All right, I got a layup for you here, Andrew. Which actor would you want to play you in a movie about your life?
we know what it is. It's Seth Rogen, folks.
Okay. What is your favorite sport to watch?
Hockey.
If you had to play one album forever, what one would it be?
Synchronicity by the Police, Moving Pictures by Rush, or Animals by Pink Floyd. One of the three.
Okay.
I'm not picking one.
Let's wrap it up with this one here, Andrew. What movie have you seen recently that you would recommend?
Deep Rising.
Yeah,
There's nothing
emphatically.
It's Deep Rising, folks. Watch this movie. It's awesome.
There's like pages of these, so maybe we'll come back to them. It's pretty fun. I think we all got to know you a little bit better, Andrew, and we have one more week left of Spooky Month. Believe it or not, already reaching the end here. Sci-fi horror is the theme, and whenever we put this theme together, there's one movie that we knew we had to cover. It's been on our list for a long time. People have requested it. It's been talked about a lot. It's a movie I have not seen in a very long time, but I have been wanting to go back and revisit. It has a pretty notorious legacy. The movie is Event Horizon. That's happening next week. Andrew, you ready for this one?
I am. Like I said, we've mentioned this one a lot in various ways and types, and so I've been very interested to go back and revisit it, just because, like you said, it's got a very interesting reputation. It's got a very kind of. It's got, I don't quite know the exact. I wouldn't say like notorious is actually the right word, but like there's obviously a very big story behind it. There is definitely a big cult following for this, and a lot of people really do enjoy it a lot. And I've seen it a couple of times, but I am excited to go back and rewatch it and dive into it and see kind of how we feel about it.
That's next week as we cap off Sci-Fi Horror Month. And until then, just remember that maybe not every movie is great,
but all movies have greatness.
Thank you to Mark Benavides for singing our theme song. You can check him out on Instagram at NotThatMarkAnthony. And thanks to Mitch for our music. Follow him on Blue Sky and check our show notes for his SoundCloud link. Check out our store on TeePublic for some Best of the Rest merch. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. That's the only way that we grow. Follow us on social media at BOTRcast. Thank you. You going to bed, bud?
Mm-hmm. Good night.
Good night, buddy. Do you want to say anything to the listeners while you're here?
Say happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say it to the microphone.
Happy Halloween.